Hey everybody, it's Gabriel here at the Nervous Nellies. I'm doing the intro again.
Yay!
Yay. And I know that June is almost over, especially by the time this comes out, but we still want to
Mhm.
wish everybody a happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
Yes. May you get all of the Pride presents under your Pride tree this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, General reminder that Jarrod and I are not professionals. We're not therapists. We're not saying that our advice is the only advice. And you should really be seeking out the medical.
The medicalness meant find it.
You should be seeking out the advice and treatment from a medical professional
Mm.
when you can. And if you're looking for a therapist, we do have a link in the show notes where you can find a therapist near you. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. Intro.
Let's check in.
Chicken.
Yay!
All right, Jarrod, how was your week so far?
My week so far has been good.
I'm going to interrupt you already.
Don't ask me a fucking question.
Okay, sorry, it just popped into my head.
No, I'm kidding.
Where does the phrase check-in come from?
I don't know. I feel like they do that in like group therapy.
Oh, okay.
Like, let's check in. I think that's how I don't know. But I think that's how a lot of group therapy starts, is with a check-in, and everybody goes around and checks in.
Oh, interesting. Anytime I've been in therapy, which has never been in a group, it's always been,
Mm-hmm.
so how are you doing? That's
Yeah.
that's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
group, it's like check-in. So
Uh,
everybody gets to touch base on how they're doing.
Okay. Well, I apologize for interrupting. Please carry on with your chicken.
No, I'm good. My week has been good. I don't have a lot going on. I don't know. Just work and sleep and eat.
It's too fucking hot for anything.
It's so hot. I had to make like more deliveries today than I've ever made in one day in my life. And just outside, running around, inside, outside. So yeah, it's like 106 or something. It's too hot.
Does that ever play havoc or wreak havoc on your sinuses? Being hot, cold like that?
No, not anymore. I used to have really bad sinus and allergies when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't anymore. Hopefully that doesn't jinx me that I said that. But
Real fascinating stuff here. Anyway, I can't wait to tell you.
Tell me.
So, okay,
Fuck me.
you son of a
I'm
bitch.
sorry.
Is that an alarm or a phone call?
It's from Bangor, Maine. It's a phone call. I forgot to. Okay. Fucking Bangor, Maine.
I'm gonna leave that in.
Fine. Show people
We're gonna
how
lose all of our fans in Bangor, Maine.
you can just exacerbate that we say that we are not professional. I'm not professional in any way at my job here.
Now you get a glimpse of what it's like to get a phone call at work.
Mhm.
How Jarrod responds.
That is how I respond. I'm normally like, damn it, why is somebody calling my cell phone?
Yeah, that's how I respond to. What do you want?
What
Why are you
do
calling?
you want?
So many things to discuss this week. Okay, so first of all, I was re-listening to our episode about anger, and you had mentioned that well, I had said that I was in a constant state of irritation or annoyance,
Mhm.
and to me that's different from anger. In my head, the way it works is that that's a separate category, and then you had commented about that's on the same spectrum as anger, and there was something about that it seems so obvious and so on the nose that it should have been easy to come to that conclusion on my own. And yet it got me thinking for like days.
Really?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about? Tell me.
That I was like, in the rainbow of anger, that definitely is one of the colors. And it just never really, I just never really saw that. I never made that connection. I just saw them as different emotions.
Yeah, my husband's the same way. I guess that's why I said, well, I don't know. When you said that, I just thought, because I don't know if I've told him this, but I've thought the same thing before, where I ask him, are you angry? And he's like, no, I'm just kind of annoyed. And I'm like, that's the same. Like, I mean, it's not the same. I mean, like, it's not like you're, livid or want to hit anything, but it's still like a...
Yeah, I guess I like most things, I'm just going to blame this on my upbringing, right? And just, I have very clear images in my head of what anger is, and
Yeah, you
and
said
what
that.
and what annoyance is, and they're just two separate things to me. But my therapist also said the same thing, that it's part of the same spectrum. Yeah.
I'm smart.
We all knew that. But yeah, so you should feel justified in correcting me.
I didn't think of it as a correction. I guess
Whatever.
it was honestly.
Everybody, he hit me, he held me down, and he spit on my forehead.
I was just a little annoyed. No, but I just thought it was interesting because, like I said, my husband says the same thing. So,
but I think that says a lot about an individual's perception of emotions based on their upbringing.
Yeah,
which is really cool, interesting. I like that. I like that whole thing.
But it feels different to you. Like it feels like a different. I see it. I guess.
So if somebody was to say to me, "No, I'm not angry. I'm just annoyed," I'd be like, "Oh, well, at least they're not angry."
Oh yeah. No, to me, I'm like, no,
thing?
you're still. It's not the. Yeah, I mean, it's on the spectrum to me. Yes, like on the inside of my body, my head, it feels like the similar emotion. Yeah, I think it's all connected.
Well, so going with that logic, yes, I got angry over the weekend.
Tell me.
And I don't think I will, but it'll just reopen that wound.
Oh. And
so, but I will tell you that Kenneth and I were out eating at this little cafe, and I'm so frustrated. I'm so in my head about this. I told Kenneth, I was like, all right, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to break this down. And so then I started rapping. No, not really. So really, I told him, okay, so here's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a tension in my arms, like I want to punch somebody. I'm feeling.
What is iRobot? What?
It's my Roomba. That's my vacuum robot.
And it's asking us for help?
Yes. It's having a rough day.
Aww.
The brushes have become too clogged with cat hair. Surprise, surprise. And if you look at my hallway there, you'll see the piss poor job that it did of sweeping up the cat litter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't deserve our help.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Anyway, if that goes off again, I'll go deal with it. Anyway, okay. Going back, is this still recording? Yes. So going back,
you needed to break it down. You had tension in your arms.
Like yes,
you wanted to hit somebody.
Yeah, so I had some serious tension in my arms, like I really wanted to punch somebody, and then I had that same feeling in my throat and neck where I was like ready to yell, and I was just so pissed. And then as I'm like discussing this and I'm talking about it and I'm breaking it down, I'm trying to get to the core of it and try to get some relief, right? Then I just come to the conclusion that what I'm angry about is possibly not real, right? That it's all miscommunication. And so that calms me down, that comforts me.
I'm listening.
I know.
What is that?
That is my cat going to the bathroom.
Oh.
He's pawing at the side of the cat box. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't bother me.
So I calm down. Our food arrives. I'm determined to not have my day ruined by my own anger. And then this woman who has this cart full of cleaning supplies is going by, and she's cleaning the tables. And then she hits a chair, and a bottle of cleaning solution falls off the cart. The top breaks and splashes straight up right onto my food.
Oh.
And
what happened? What did you do?
I turned bright green and busted out of my clothes, and I leveled that restaurant. No, I told her. She was very upset and concerned and apologetic, and I told her like, no, it was an accident. It's totally okay. I just, we'll just replace the sandwich, and we're good. Yeah. And she did. And then again, she was just really apologetic.
Aww.
And to comfort her made me feel nice and made me feel like, I felt relief, right? I'm really glad I'm not one of those people that takes it out on somebody else, especially somebody in the service industry.
Yeah, that sucks. Don't do that. Don't
No.
take your anger or your depression or your negative emotions out on other people.
Especially people in the service industry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was some relief, right? I got a new sandwich. I ate. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
And later that day, we're at Costco, and there was a small child in the aisle that was doing a little dance,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned to my husband and I was like, "Look at this fucking kid doing a little dance in the aisle." And as I'm saying that, I hit the kid with my cart, and he didn't cry. Nothing happened. Right? Like it was just a slight bump that I may or may not have done on purpose. I don't know. But I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Mm-hmm.
And the mother was like, "He had it coming." And whether or not I did it on purpose or subconsciously, either way, I felt like that was an act of self-care.
Sometimes I told you, like, you did not really respond to me when I said sometimes the best thing you can do when you're angry is just to not run over somebody with a car. And you didn't have a response to that. And
I didn't.
That's what happened.
Because that is good advice that I feel is pretty common sense, right? Common knowledge. But then, come Saturday, I saw a small child, and my brain, despite my body saying no, my brain was like, yes.
Whatever, don't say that. People that are listening to this are going to think you hit that kid on purpose, which I know you didn't. You just weren't paying attention.
I just wasn't paying attention, everybody. I don't hit children in my time off.
With carts.
With carts.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Oh. Me either.
Okay. I'm not going to lie, listeners, today has been a mix of noises and distractions. Right now, I have a cat that's sitting right next to the mics who's decided to scratch himself. So you might hear something in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, one of my dogs went crazy over a fan.
Yeah, she did not like the fan.
No. So if you hear some things in the background, I apologize.
But c'est la vie.
Exactly. What are we talking about today?
Fear.
Fear?
Yeah.
What about it?
Oh my God, everything. Fear is like the backbone of every neuroses that I know of. I think.
Well, yes. No, I agree with you. It's also the very thing that keeps us alive.
True.
Yes.
Yes.
That fear is one of those primal emotions that goes back to prehistoric times that keeps us from poking at the mastodons. Yes, it keeps us going.
Which is, I have theories on
Tell me.
Evolutionary psychology. Well, I just think that a lot of emotions, especially fear, that, was in prehistoric times and stuff, it served a great purpose. Like, it taught you what not to do. You could take shelter. You could run. I mean, because you were out there trying to get food. You were out there trying to protect yourself, trying to have somewhere to sleep at night. And now all that stuff is taken care of. And so I think that we have just unnatural fears. Like our brain reacts like a tiger is chasing us when somebody doesn't text back in the amount of time that we think that they're supposed to.
Right. So because that part of us is still active and still alive, it's just redirected towards other things.
Redirected. And a lot of times I think it's, towards negative things, neuroses, things that just eat away at us. And it didn't, I don't know, as we evolved, it didn't turn off, or it still hasn't yet, or it hasn't evolved to the point.
It hasn't caught up.
It hasn't caught up, no.
To modern times. Right. Well, I think that I would 100% agree with that. I think that's being a non-professional, right?
Non-professional, yes.
But based on my own observations as a no one, I like that theory, and it makes a lot of sense.
Well, I have a whole psychological theory about that as a non-professional. And then psychology, any psych majors know that there's something out there called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it starts with your basic needs. It's like 5 tiers, I think. Your basic needs, food, shelter. Then it's like community and social stuff and family and stuff. And as you get higher, the last one is like your spiritual, your awakening, your ability to think about deeper concepts of life. And his thing is you can't get there unless all the other needs are taken care of, which may be true. I also think that when all the other needs are taken care of, and I say psychic energy, I just mean like your psyche, like your mental energy that used to go into those is free floating around in your head. So I also think that causes a ton of neuroses in the modern day human, because that energy evolutionarily, it was used to hunt, to fish, to gather, to build a house, to find protection. We don't really, a lot of us anyway, and we're lucky we don't have to do those things. And so then all that extra energy, I think, goes into anxiety and depression. And yes, it could also be channeled into finding your higher self and a higher way of thinking. But I think because in human beings, the easiest emotion or train of thought tends to be one of negativity, that it causes a lot of psychological problems. That's my theory. And I never read that not like, oh, I never read that in the book, it's just me. No, I just mean like I hadn't heard that one before, and I've thought that ever since I was in college. I have a undergraduate in psychology, which is nothing. You cannot do anything in the field. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying.
I believe that makes you qualified to talk about psychology on a podcast.
Yeah. And that's about it. And just with caveats.
Yes.
But anyway, what do you think?
No, I like that theory. It makes a ton of sense. And I support you.
Thank you.
I support your theory. No, everything you're saying just to me sounds like truth, based on my own personal observations of what I've seen in other people and in myself. Yes. All of that lines up. So I agree.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. But on the subject of fear, going back to this, which we never really left.
No.
Sorry. Okay. Are you at all a fear junkie?
I'm afraid, yes. I don't want to be, but my life, yes. Yeah. I would love to not be, but I feel like my main motivation in a majority of situations is fear of not wanting this to happen, of not wanting that to happen, of not getting yelled at, of somebody not being mean to me. So yeah.
Do you gravitate to situations where you might be afraid?
No, I don't think so, but I think it's just such a part of life for me, and it always has been, that it's just kind of commonplace.
Yeah.
Like it just seems normal to me, but when I really sit and think about it, although I think that's probably common with a lot of people. What about you? Do you feel like a lot of your motivation comes from fear? Like when you really break it down to why you make the decisions you make?
Oh God. We're going to get into that in the next episode, but as you know, I do have OCD, and it's 100% fear-based.
Yeah.
When I think about my everyday activities or everyday tasks, I would say yes.
Me too.
I don't even know why I had to really think about that. But yes, my motivator is fear and shame, with a little bit of guilt thrown in, because, I am Catholic, or I was.
Were.
Ex. But yeah, everything I do is based on what I fear.
And it gets worse as I get older. I didn't used to be like that, but now a lot of times, as soon as I wake up, I'm in fear. I'm like, oh, I slept too late. Oh, I need to do this.
Oh, I see. If you had to guess what age that started happening for you, what would you say?
Late 20s, early 30s.
Really? Me too.
I think that's normal, right?
You think
Because
so?
by then you're just scarred by life. I mean, not that we're jaded or anything, but you have enough happen in life with negative consequences that you start to be aware of the consequences. You're not aware of them before then, and so then you have to start thinking about them. What do you think?
What's the question?
Just like that you're motivated by fear. Do you feel like it's getting worse as you get older?
Yes. Let me just put this in a different way. I don't know that it's necessarily getting worse for me the older I get. I mean, I am going to therapy. I'm taking medication. I'm doing what I can to get rid of a lot of my fears. But I would say that it has, like, throughout my late 20s, early 30s, or mid 30s, really, it had reached its point. And then with actively trying to diminish it or decrease it, I have kept it at a certain level that it is somewhat manageable, but it has definitely not gotten worse. So I mean, I feel like that is a testament to therapy and to working on it, right?
No, I mean, that's really good. I mean, you're taking, and plus like you said, we'll talk about it in the next episode, but with something like OCD that has a lot of fear base to it, I mean, that's really good that yours is not getting worse. I mean, you're going to therapy, you take medication, so yeah, it should get better. I guess what I take medication for isn't that, it's depression. So I don't think, but mine isn't like overwhelming. It's just pretty constant.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's just we're all used to the neuroses that we have.
Yeah. I mean, also, it can be a little tough to determine or to differentiate between what is just a daily problem or a daily, not problem, but like what's a mundane average nuisance, right? And what is a problem, right? What is something that needs attention,
right? And psychologically, for anything to need attention, it needs to cause functional impairment, meaning it affects your life in a negative way. Like you can't do everything that you want to because of it.
Hi, hello. Oh, were you talking to me? I heard impairment.
Impairment.
And I thought you were talking to me. So I'm doing my best, right? And
you're doing really good.
I feel like, that's all we can do, right?
At any given time.
But it's what I find to be really peculiar is, in spite of all of my fears, I still seek out shallow or superficial fears.
Like what?
Like horror films or...
Oh, no, I love horror films.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's related to that, like haunted houses in October or scary movies, scary videos, scary stories. All of that stuff I really gravitate to, I think because, I've worked so hard to suppress that fear, that fear reaction in me that has left me a little bit dull, a little bit numb.
Yeah, me too.
So I have to seek it out elsewhere, and so it's just so easy to access, and I don't know, I really enjoy it. Does any of it actually scare me? No, but it is a way for me to seek thrills safely.
I'm the same. I can watch horror movies, ghost stuff all day, every day, and I think it's because I'm not saying ghosts aren't real. I'm not saying I have an opinion on that, but just typical horror stuff. Like it's just like Freddy Krueger in my mind is not real. It's like pure entertainment. So I can get lost in it the way another person can get lost in like romantic comedies, but then romantic comedies affect me emotionally and I don't like them. Yeah. So horror is just like, there's nothing for me to get attached to. Like there's not a lot of emotion other than like fear and stuff like that. Right. Like the horror movies that do have a bunch of emotion that are like those, real introspective, slower one. I hate those.
Do you think that true crime falls into that category as well for some people?
Yes, I watch true crime all the time.
But yeah, it's people thrill seeking. Yeah.
But it's also like it's just an escape. I guess maybe people like us that have had more mental health issues and have sought treatment for it. I think you're right. I think we get a little dulled. Especially earlier, like that was one of my coping mechanisms. I wanted to be dulled to everything. And then in my mid 30s, I had to start undoing that.
Do you feel there's a small section of you that wishes that you could be frightened by that? Like that was your biggest concern was Freddy Krueger and not the daily.
Yes. Oh my God. Life. I would love that.
Yeah. Whenever I hear people are truly frightened of horror films or whatever, I'm like, oh God, I wish I had that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that was the fear I had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ugh, if only.
But maybe they have both. I don't know.
Well, when you do have fear,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? Just live with it? Let it rule you?
No, I don't let it rule me. I think because it's always been something that I've had. Like I've always had fear. I've always had worry. I've always thought about the worst case scenario. Even since I was a young child, I think I said in another recording, like my mom used to stay up with me on Sunday nights because I was worried about school. But even when I was 5 and I was like popular and had fun in school, I don't know what I was worried about.
When you were a child, when you were afraid of things, was it like real life stuff or was it like fantasy monster type?
I feel like when I was a child, it was more fantasy stuff. Like I hated haunted houses. I never watched horror movies until I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would also have fears, like when I was in the back of the car with my parents driving, I would see in my head like a scary dude like throw himself up against the glass and push his face in, and that would scare me in my head. What about you?
I was always afraid of quote unquote real stuff, right?
I mean, that's the scariest shit.
Yeah, but I mean, even as a child watching Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, none of that really got to me. It was the it was always real things like somebody breaking in, car crashes, just that kind of thing. Whenever I had nightmares, it was usually about that.
Yeah, no, mine wasn't. Mine was more that like my nightmares were like a giant chasing me through the hallway when I was like 3 and 4. It was a recurring dream. It wasn't. No, I didn't.
Really?
I wish I could go back.
The only reoccurring dream or nightmare that I have, which I mean, I don't find it frightening, but I do find it really interesting and entertaining, and for me at least, worthy of exploring. And that is, all through my teen years, I would have dreams of the earth like cracking open and just parts of my town or parts of my neighborhood just like falling in and trying to navigate that. That was it.
When I would take finals in college, I would have dreams where the floor was falling out from under me and I'd have to jump from like little square to little square, like very The Golden Child. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I want the knife. Yeah. Anyway, but I would have dreams all the time with the ground falling out from under me and I have to jump from one thing, or it'd be like water sinking, and it was just pure stress dreams.
Yes. Well, yeah. And it's so interesting to me how fear presents itself in the body. Right? So like, if you've ever heard, we've already talked about this, but we'll talk about it again because it's endlessly fascinating. But the phrase "scared shitless," it's usually because when people are afraid, what happens is your body goes through the fight or flight response. And in the process of flight, your body needs to remove excess weight. So
you can move as quick as possible.
Exactly. So that either people will shit themselves or vomit, and that way they can move faster.
I've done both at the same time. Does that make me like more evolutionarily evolved?
No, it just means I need to get you a tarp before you before you sit on my couch again. But yeah, how fear presents.
Gabriel's making this face like, this motherfucker.
Lost my train of thought. But how fear presents itself is, I mean, it varies from person to person to person.
Yeah.
For me, yes, my stomach. Well, with fear, my stomach is the first to go, and then rapid heart rate. It's all pretty standard stuff, really.
Yeah.
A shaky breath. Darting eyes, that whole thing, trying to stay cool. What about you?
I was just thinking you asked me what I do with the fear.
We'll get back to that. We'll come back around.
Yeah, I mean, my heart rate increases, my face flushes, I get hot.
Yeah. Is it a similar response to like panic and anxiety attacks?
Yeah, it's similar to panic and anxiety, and the same, like it's the same At one time I was in Colorado with my friend Reggie, and I literally fell off the side of a mountain. We were stupid. We were in our early 20s, and we were climbing up a straight up rock face of a mountain with no, we weren't harnessed or anything. And I fell, and I don't know what happened, but I somehow, as I was falling vertically, should we do something?
No. No, they'll tire themselves out. Marvel, what are you going to do?
Don't get in the middle of it, Marvel. They'll mess you up. No, I know. Come back. Come back, Mama. Anyway, but
I'm so sorry.
Huh?
I said I'm so
I
sorry.
don't care. But my foot somehow hit and I fell forward. And so and somehow got a grip. So I didn't die. But anyway, that's like my whole theory about where you have too much mental energy because you're not in situations where you need to survive.
Yeah.
Anyway, it feels like that. Like it was the same. I can wake up and think that something is wrong at work, and I have the exact same biological reaction as when I fell off the side of a mountain. To me, I mean, it feels the same, which I don't think is good. I think evolution like missed a trick there.
So when you're feeling fear, when you're in a situation where you're feeling, do you respond to it the same way you would respond to anxiety and panic? Like, do you try to shake it off? What do you do?
I try to shake it off, especially if it's something like a rumination or worry that I think something's going to happen. I try to think it through, like play the whole tape. Have you ever heard that in therapy?
No.
It's just this whole concept of playing the entire situation out in your head, and you're like,
yes.
okay, I think this is going to happen. Well, what if it does happen? Okay, well then what's the worst that could happen? And then and probably once you think it all the way through, the thing that you're worrying about, it's not very likely that that's actually going to happen. Mm-hmm. What do you do when you feel overcome with it?
Honestly, I can only think about, I mean, we're talking about two different kinds or we're talking about a very specific kind of fear, which is related to anxiety and panic, mm-hmm. right? We're talking about deep-seated fears, not mm-hmm. almost a phobia. But when I try to think of examples, I can only think of like a shallow fear, right? Mm-hmm. Like at a haunted house, or if you're in an unfamiliar neighborhood and there's somebody approaching your car, that kind of thing. These are the only examples I can think of, right? Like somebody knocks on my door and I don't know who it is. That kind of fear. Mm-hmm. That kind of fear, oddly enough, I get ready for a fight and I feel like I could win. Like I like chest puffed out.
So you're a fighter.
Yeah. In that sense.
Yeah.
Right? There was one time where our doorbell rang at like 3:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And it was before we had cameras on the front porch. Mm-hmm. And Kenneth and I both like heard it, and my dogs heard it, and they went barking. And we looked out the window and out the peephole and didn't see anything. Mm-hmm. And we both stayed up and tried to, get through the night. But I was very much I was very much ready to fight, mm-hmm. which is very strange for me. I don't know why.
I don't know. You and I are similar. I think if it comes to something serious like that, well, the same thing happened to me 3:00 at night. Somebody was continually ringing the doorbell and knocking on the door. And I have seen way too many true crime things, and so I didn't look through the peephole. I was like, they're gonna see my eye and stab me in the eye or shoot me through the thing. So I got a butcher knife in each hand and I just stood in front of the door for like a solid 30 minutes until they stopped. Anyway, come to find out, the next day it was my ex's friend who was drunk and needed a place to stay. But I'm like, text me.
Yeah, you don't just show up at someone's house banging on the door at 3 a.m.
No.
If you didn't know that,
no,
we're clarifying now. Mm-hmm. But that's like a physical fear, right? Mm-hmm. Like a physical threat in front of you. I'm ready to fight, but mm-hmm. I guess an existential one. No, I roll over and show my belly, and I give in to the fear really easily.
That is strange because, like, as far as the biological processes, I feel like they're really similar for an existential fear versus a real fear. But I don't mean you're strange. I think I do the same thing. Like, I much easier would give in to the fear of somebody, I don't know, like not having enough money to pay the rent, or
Right.
you know, having to go to the hospital and not have insurance. Like, I would much easier give in to those and let them control my mind for a longer period of time than
Yeah.
like an imminent fear that's right outside the door. If it was a real fear that's right outside the door, I would be ready to fight with my butcher knives. But the other ones, and maybe that's what we're really getting to, like maybe that's uncovering something, that's how the human brain has evolved to work, and that doesn't do any good. Like the things that probably won't happen, we spend 90% of our time worrying about and fleeing from, whether that's metaphorically, not literally running, and then the things that could really kill us we're ready to deal with.
Yeah.
Strange.
That is strange.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've already answered what we do when it comes to our fears, right?
I poop and throw up
Yeah.
at the same time.
It's a defense mechanism, right?
It works.
Yeah. Nothing keeps a threat away like poop and vomit.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you. But also, like for me, you know, breathing exercises really help.
Yeah.
Pacing. I don't know if that is something that a therapist would ever recommend, but for me, that really helps because I'm getting rid of a lot of pent up energy, right? A lot of energy that I would normally be using for running or fighting or anything like that. I'm walking it out. I'm trying to get it out. And then sometimes I will shake my arms and hands, just trying to
get that excess energy out. Yeah.
Yes. And it's so strange to me that to have like such a physical, almost tangible form of energy, right?
Yeah, that's based on.
But I mean, like, you know, we always think of energy as this theoretical concept, right? That lives on paper, but to have it like in you, and then needing to get rid of it as if it was an actual physical thing. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think that's totally normal. That's why I was, with my little theory at the beginning, I was serious with psychic energy again, not psychic.
It's really tough to talk about this kind of stuff because it has worked its way into pop culture, and a lot of the meanings have changed.
Yes,
and it can be a little hokey, right?
It can, and the terms sound weird if you're saying them out loud on a podcast versus reading a textbook that says psychic energy and knowing that just means your psyche, your mental energy, and it's just like your muscles. You have a certain amount of physical energy every day, and I feel like you may have a certain amount of mental energy, and that mental energy does not go into, for most people, finding shelter, hunting, and gathering, and so you have an excess of it, and then look, like what you're saying is almost the end product, where then you have to literally shake it out of your body.
Yes. Yeah, it's strange. By the way, I was talking about the concept of a psychic vampire. Energy vampire. And I just sounded like such a fucking hippie trying to explain. No, I was talking to Kenneth about it. About energy vampires.
Like, wow, I do not know what we're talking about.
No, I
did not hear you say that.
No, I was just relating to what you're talking about. How like certain things are completely real, and you'll read about them in psych textbooks. But when you talk about it in person, it just sounds so fucking weird.
It sounds weird, but everybody knows that person or people that walk into a room and suck all the energy out of it.
And if you don't know that person, then
you are that person, bitch.
Let me show you this mirror.
Okay. I need to ask you questions. You always ask me. You always keep it going.
Oh, sorry. Well, ask me questions. Oh, so I do want to get into what the difference is between a fear and a phobia.
Oh, okay, that's
because
good.
that is a very important distinction.
Yeah, it's different.
Do I have a fear of spiders? Sure, they might bite me, and that could hurt. it ends there for me.
Yeah, it's not a phobia.
It's not a phobia. Have you seen that clip from Maury Povich with the lady that's terrified of olives?
Frogs? Olives. I thought it was
Olives.
frogs. No.
Yes.
I've heard of it.
There's a clip.
Or was it pickles?
No, it's olives.
I'm sorry. I don't know why you just told me that, and I'm doubting what you said. I've never even seen it.
I feel like you don't believe me when I have evidence on my phone.
I believe you.
But she has a phobia of olives. Now let's talk about what a phobia is. A phobia is when a fear becomes basically out of control.
Yes.
And you start to, it's an irrational fear, and you start to basically rearrange your entire existence to accommodate this fear. So you never have to run into it. You never have to deal with it. And in this lady's case, it was olives. She never wanted to confront an olive.
Did they ever get to like why that?
They never did, because unfortunately the highlight of that clip is when Maury says, "All right, bring out the jar of olives," and then somebody does, and you see this woman just take off running.
Yeah. Not aversion therapy.
Immersion therapy?
Immersion therapy is not.
I don't believe in it.
I mean, people have done it, but I think it's maybe different with different people. It definitely does not have a great like
track record
efficacy rate.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think if a therapist ever recommended immersion therapy for me, I would have to say goodbye.
Yeah, I think I would too, because it's just, I mean, of course on movie, you talk.
Yeah, that I find that clip to be so upsetting. I find it so rattling, just because there's people like you and me who are doing our best to make sure that people are okay with their issues, and they feel comfortable talking about it and seeking help. And then you have this fucking
exploitation.
Yes, you have this fucking circus that is Maury Povich that just puts it in a spotlight and tries to make money off of it
and laughs at it.
And then people are even more hesitant to share their problems.
Yeah, because they don't want to be laughed at like that lady.
Right.
Yeah.
But, well, now I feel bad for bringing it up. Thank you.
Why?
Because it sounds like I was bringing it up for laughs.
No, I didn't think that at all.
But it does serve as a really good example of how phobia is completely irrational.
Yeah.
And how it can be about just about anything.
Yeah, it can be anything. No, I knew you were bringing it up to like point out the issue.
Well, then I'm just being defensive for no reason.
You are.
Yeah, sorry.
No, not really. That's fine. But no, I didn't mean that. But, yeah.
Yeah. So phobias. When you have something that is when you have a fear that becomes so extreme that you avoid work, you avoid communication with family and friends. You don't want to leave the house. Anything that's going to put a stop to your life because you might confront this fear, that's when you have a phobia, and that's when you have a problem.
And that's what we keep talking about is functional impairment. Like
that
denotes a problem in psychiatry. And if somebody pretty much if somebody brings an insect in a room and you can't physically stay in that room, it could cause functional impairment. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're never with it. But yeah, like what you're saying, if you're staying home to avoid things, if you can't function, if you can't work for any mental health reason, that is a reason to seek treatment.
Right. Okay, so maybe this is a little too personal, but do you have anything like that?
I know. I was just thinking that. I can't think of anything. No, no, my husband does.
Yeah.
He has like roaches and spiders, and no, I know it's not. I think mine are more existential, like dying alone.
I love that you laugh at that.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you do, right?
Keeps you from crying.
But no, I don't. I can't think of a specific phobia that I have. Do you have one or multiple?
Multiple. D, all of the above.
D.
Well, we talked last week about my issues with confinement.
Yeah, claustrophobia. That's one that most people have heard of.
Yeah, but it's, if you were to say that you have claustrophobia and you try to explain it as, I mean, most people, I think, will have the mental picture of being stuck in an elevator.
Yeah.
That's not an issue for me. What is an issue is when I'm in, like, we'll go with the barber chair, right? Because that actually happened to me a couple of weeks ago. When I'm in that barber chair, and then if they put that cape around you, and it's a little tight, and then they're like, okay, be still, so I don't cut your ear or anything.
And you're not supposed to move.
Maybe
that's not claustrophobia, but it's something.
Well, according to my therapist,
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or multiple therapists. It is. And I had one therapist that was trying to help me through that with a practice of putting a blanket around me.
Okay.
So he sat me in a chair, he put a blanket around me, and then he loosely tied it in the back.
And how'd that work?
It was good.
Yeah? I mean, that's kind of immersion therapy.
It is kind of immersion therapy, and it was effective. It was good, right? Basically, he had me catalog all the sensations I'm feeling in my body, right? So after a couple of minutes of me just understanding, like, okay, I'm safe, I'm in an office, I've got a blanket around me, the fear started to kick in and overwrite the logic. And then I started to feel the itchiness on my forehead of sweat forming. I could feel my stomach churning, and I'm like belching now, and because the acids are just swirling. I could feel the tension in my thighs and calves as I'm ready to fucking run. And he's having me explain this too, like, as it's happening. And which, by the way, in itself, explaining what's going on in your body, I also found to be very therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. That's what our whole thing with this is. It is very therapeutic to share what's going on in your brain.
Talk it out. And so he was like, okay, so next I want you to just like quickly lift your arms, breaking free.
Okay.
And so I did that, and
did it come off?
Yeah, I was loosely tied.
Okay.
But he was like, explain the sensations. What was that like? What did it feel like to break free? And it was such a relief. It was so, I mean, really, that's the only word I got for it at the moment. Relief. And I felt so good afterwards. I felt drained, right? Because the rush of adrenaline that just, your body's all tensed up, and it just went through all of these cycles, and then now you're free, and my body was just ready for a nap. But yes, it was such a good exercise, and I was really clever. I was really impressed with it, because I was like, this is one of those things that should have seemed obvious, that I should have been able to think up on my own and done it on my own, and never did. So I was really thankful for the practice, and it was really helpful. But unfortunately, you fall back onto old habits, I suppose.
So I'm a little confused. So what? Okay, so you broke free. That's great. That's like getting up from the chair. But how did that help?
Because it's supposed to remind me of my autonomy and my ability.
Just that you can break free anytime. So did that help if you went straight back into a chair? Like
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Like for a couple of months after that, I was good.
Okay.
And then COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then compounded
And then for 2 years, I didn't sit in a barber's chair. I was cutting my own hair at home. And then my first time back, I definitely got like really sweaty and fidgety.
Maybe you just need to like hulk it out of a chair while you're getting your haircut.
Well, my therapist, my current therapist, has been like, what's so wrong with explaining to the person cutting your hair that you need a moment?
Which is true, but that's like
true.
Breaking tons of societal norms, which we feel shameful about, which we shouldn't, which is another reason we want to have this podcast. But it is a real thing. Yeah,
it is a very real thing, and it is one of those like, I guess I could, but
why do I have to?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he's just like, if it's gonna help you, then do it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you have too. I've been in customer service forever. If somebody told me that, it wouldn't
bother me.
It wouldn't bother me at all. I'd be like, oh, okay, that's sweet. Not sweet, but you know what I mean? It's like, oh, they're sharing. That's good. Okay. Yeah. I can do whatever you need to help.
Well, that unfortunately opened up a whole other can of worms, which is, why do you feel the need to apologize for your quote unquote disability.
Societal norms.
Yes. So we'll get into all that later.
Okay.
But yeah, that's when I'm experiencing fear like that. For me, the best thing to do is to just talk it out, and then and then I excuse myself to the bathroom, and then I paced back and forth, and I shook out my arms and hands.
Just get that excess energy out.
Right. I did. I jumped a little bit. Right. Just a couple of times. And then I went back and finished up.
I think that is really good advice. I've done the similar thing with anger, but I feel like a lot of my anger is fear-based. Like I'm worried that something's going to happen or that somebody thinks I'm stupid, especially at work. And so then I get angry about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've gone out of the office and trucked it around the block like 3 or 4 times, and I feel a lot better. There is definitely something with the energy and having excess energy and getting rid of it to kind of calm your mental state.
Yes. Okay, so I think that wraps it up for this week's episode. I do want to give a shout out to Robert. Okay, so I think that wraps it up for this week's episode. Next week we'll be talking about my OCD. That's right, we're going to get deep into my head, and you're going to hate it as much as I do. But before we go, let's see. I do want to give a shout out to Laura. Happy birthday, Laura.
Happy birthday.
She is a listener, a new listener. They're all new listeners.
Awesome.
And also Robert sent me a message saying that he is laughing out loud at the doo-doo part of episode 3.
Oh no, we talked about doo-doo today.
I know. It's going to be a reoccurring
talk about
theme.
doo-doo too much?
I think you talk about doo-doo too much.
Oh, that was me too in episode 3.
It's always you.
Oops.
But Robert, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And for anyone else who wants a review read on air, just leave us a 5-star review or shoot us a message. We'll read the review on the next episode. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify. So be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And also, we have a Patreon. Jarrod, can you please explain Patreon? I'm going to keep asking you.
Yes, I know the Patreon. So you can find the link to our Patreon on our Instagram, which is at The Nervous Nellies. We have 2 tier groups. The first, if you want to pledge $1, you get our undying gratitude. Thank you so much. And we will mention you on the podcast. After that, if you want to pledge $5, then you get
early access
to episodes. I mean, we want to grow some, so as we do, you'll get more stuff, like maybe an extra episode.
Sure.
Or merch.
I'm not gonna lie, I just started making stickers, and I'm ready to make stickers.
He's
and
making
put them on
stickers
everything.
like a madman. If somebody
so
wants
maybe
stickers.
I'll send you some stickers.
Yeah, email us. You can email us at thenervousnellies@gmail.com. But anyway, yeah, and then half of what we make from Patreon goes back into the podcast, and the other half goes to the Trevor Project, which deals with suicidal ideation in
LGBT
youth. Yeah. And
it's a great organization.
It is. I've heard other podcasts that do the same thing with the Trevor Project. Yeah.
That's great. And you can find a link to the Trevor Project on in the show notes. And I think that's it.
Send us an email. Bye.